Welcome to the Office of Educator Preparation's webinar on the Specialty Area Program, or SAP, Proposal Development Guidance for Preparation. The webinar's objectives are to introduce the 2025 revised SAP template, clarify expectations related to the SAP development process, and provide examples of SAP proposal content. We have linked a key terms document on the TDOE Educator Preparation webpage. The key terms document will especially be helpful for those developing a proposal to become an EPP in Tennessee. As we move into the SAP proposal overview, let's look at why a SAP proposal would need to be completed. EPPs would need to submit a SAP proposal to apply for conditional approval to offer a new SAP that leads to additional licensure as a single or dual endorsement program, an additional initial licensure pathway of a currently approved SAP, or there are significant revisions needed for a currently approved SAP. For example, if the EPP has an elementary education program with an undergraduate program level and a student teaching clinical pathway, and the EPP wants to add an internship to this existing structure, then a new SAP proposal is required. SAP proposals will be submitted through the department's TN Atlas software program with sections requiring narrative responses and/or uploaded documents to address the section prompts. A link to the TN Atlas user guide will be provided later in the presentation. In order for the department to plan out the quarterly proposal review schedule, EPPs must submit the SAP intent to submit form at least 4 weeks prior to the selected review cycle submission date as shown on the screen. Proposals are accepted 4 times a year: January 6, April 6, July 6, and October 6. The department reviews all proposals in order of submission and provides feedback within 90 calendar days from each of these quarterly due dates. EPPs are required to respond to requests for revisions within 45 calendar days. The department may provide an additional opportunity for applicants to respond to a request for minor revisions. The department will notify applicants of denial or of conditional approval of the SAP no more than 60 days following the submission of the required revisions to the proposal. It is highly recommended that proposal developers review the requirements within Tennessee Preparation Policy 5.504 and the Literacy and Specialty Area Standards for Educator Preparation Policy 5.505, Parts 1 and 2 carefully. Also, the SAP proposal requirements can be found on the TDOE Educator Preparation website within the Approval Process section. Let's move into the SAP proposal requirements. As mentioned in slide 7, an intent to submit form should be submitted at least 4 weeks prior to the selected review cycle submission date. Items asked for include the EPP approval status, as only EPPs with initial approval and full approval can submit a SAP proposal. Include if the proposal is on behalf of a partner organization, and what type of SAP is being proposed, including the program level and clinical pathways. The intent to submit form is accessible in the department's Educator Preparation webpage. The 2025 SAP proposal consists of the cover page and 4 section requirements and an optional information section if needed. The proposal includes instances requiring verification of alignment between sections. The cover page provides the first such example. The cover page should align with the intent to submit form with the type of SAP, program levels, and clinical practice pathways proposed. The cover page should include the proposal's contact name, contact information, and the EPP head administrator's signature. A verified electronic signature is required. Please sign using an approved e-signature platform such as DocuSign or Adobe Sign. Typed names, scanned images, or signatures generated by an online platform will not be accepted unless accompanied by proper verification. The first of the 4 SAP required sections is a program overview. The endorsement, program levels, and clinical practice types should be clearly stated and match those provided on the cover page. If there is any uniqueness to the proposal that you feel important to point out for the reviewers, please provide that information in this section. Include in the overview how the EPP and district will collaborate and make decisions to ensure the candidate's preparation is inclusive of LEA curricular content and materials. Examples include co-developing clinical experience frameworks or EPP candidates trained in LEA-used digital platforms. The admission requirements narrative is also required in Section 1. Provide a narrative description encompassing the candidate admission requirements for the undergraduate and/or the post-baccalaureate program level. Don't forget that the fingerprinting and background check requirement applies to both program levels. Ensure all requirements in Educator Preparation Policy 5.504 are addressed. Include any department-approved admission appeal processes your EPP offers. Section 2 consists of the program of study and the alignment to standards. The program of study uploaded should be a clear and organized program of study. A rule of thumb to follow is to upload a program of study that a candidate in the program can clearly follow from program beginning to completion. The scope and sequence should be clear and include specialty area, content major, professional education courses, and clinical experiences. Include a program of study for each program level and clinical pathway included in the SAP. If the SAP includes undergraduate student teaching and post-baccalaureate student teaching and job embedded, 3 programs of study are required. This is an example of a program of study that addresses the SAP requirements. These course codes and course names must match those courses listed in the Alignment to Standards matrices and later in Section 4's Clinical Experience sequence. As you can see, the Alignment to Standards requires download and usage of the department-generated SAP spreadsheet, which can be found on the department's Educator Preparation webpage within the Approval Process section. There are 6 worksheet tabs within the Alignment Workbook, with the first being an Instructions tab to provide guidance on completing the alignment document. The second tab is Program Requirements, which is new to the proposal. In this worksheet, we ask that you provide at least one course from the included program of study that addresses each of the 4 Educator Preparation Policy 5.504 program requirements. These cover training on the response to intervention and instruction framework, what is permissible within the teaching of religious content, teacher code of ethics training, and training on the educator evaluation framework. As you can see in this example, simply the course code and course name are sufficient. The second tab is the Transition Point Worksheet. Provide the transition points or gateways and applicable benchmarks required for candidates to progress through the program from admission to completion. At a minimum, transition points should include admission to the program and program completion, and 2 additional transition points. As noted earlier, there are multiple worksheet tabs, 3 of which represent undergraduate NTAS standards, undergrad SPA standards, and undergrad EPP literacy standards. Referencing the example I used earlier, if you are proposing an undergrad student teaching and post-bac student teaching and a post-bac job embedded, you are required to create new tabs for the post-bac student teaching and job embedded for each of the standard sets. As you can see, NTAS standards are provided in column A. SPA and EPP literacy standards must be added by the EPP. Alignments are needed at the main standard level only. Component or substandard level alignment is not required. This is a screenshot of the SPA standard worksheet. The SPA worksheet requires a hyperlink to the most recent version of the SPA standards required for the endorsement to be placed in column A. In column B, provide the course names and hyperlink the course descriptions to each applicable course name. A separate document is allowable if online descriptions are unavailable. Please do not link the EPP's electronic course catalog, but rather to the specific course's description. Also, all courses listed in alignment to standards must match the program of study provided in Section 2. In column C, provide the assessments and/or assignments used with a concise description that will demonstrate the candidate's understanding of the standards. Likewise, in column D, provide the clinical experiences and assessments used with a concise description to indicate the candidate's understanding and application of the standard. The prompt's expectation is for the courses to meet the exclusiveness of the specific standards to demonstrate that the courses listed are aligned with the individual standards and to show candidates' understanding and application of the standard expectations. For example, if you are aligning to NTAS Standard 2 learner differences, just listing case study in column B does not provide enough information. However, learner differences case study analysis provides that connection to the standard. Likewise, for the clinical experiences, we often see reflection journal listed in the clinicals column D. However, what is the connection to learner differences with only reflection journal listed? The description, complete a reflection journal with a focus on developmentally appropriate instructional strategies, is better as it addresses the exclusivity of the standard. Section 3's Program Components is an important section as the endorsement's program components often have an impact on the program of study and/or the clinical experiences. Program components are found in Part 2 of the Literacy and Specialty Area Standards for Educator Preparation Policy 5.505, along with the required specialty area standards. Feel free to cut and paste the SAP's required program components into the TN Atlas narrative field and provide your response on how the program will meet these components under each. If program components are addressed in other sections, please indicate the section or specific course in which they are found. Section 4 is the design of clinical experiences, and the first part of this section is another example of a verification of alignment between sections. A clinical experience sequence is a required upload, and the courses must match those found in the program of study. As seen in the example, a clear sequence is provided with course codes and brief descriptions. This example includes placement settings that include community-based and home-based, and the clinical experiences are differentiated from the clinical practice. The first narrative portion of Section 4 asks for a description of how the program offers well-integrated clinical experiences involving candidates in a variety of settings and opportunities, and how the program addresses the full grade span of the proposed endorsement area. The second narrative portion asks for a description of how candidates will be supervised and evaluated during clinical experiences. Include the formal and informal observations and feedback opportunities conducted by the EPP clinical supervisor and clinical mentor. Section 5 is the optional information section. EPPs may provide additional information supporting the proposal. We have provided several resources that will assist EPPs in proposal development and TN Atlas submission. We have discussed the importance of policies 5.504 and 5.505. Let me stress the importance of reviewing both policies as you plan for the SAP. Please become familiar with the department's Educator Preparation webpage. It contains required documentation, the SAP proposal overview, and much more valuable information. This PowerPoint presentation and the TN Atlas user guide are linked and are a must for anyone new to TN Atlas. The Office of Educator Preparation thanks you for your time invested in learning about the SAP development process. Please email educator.preparation@tn.gov with any questions or comments.